Hey guys, Happy New Year. Valerie Hunt, RunRx here with Ask Me Anything. And I actually got about a lot of questions. So I'm going to just kind of briefly go over the questions that people asked, and hopefully that was you, one of you guys was on asking these questions. So a lot of you guys have gotten great feedback. You went in and you watched the RunRx Reboot, which again, if you're just coming in, we do have on our YouTube channel, totally free. It's called the 30-Day RunRx Reboot. It takes you through a skill, a strength, a self-care to get you back into running, get you started running, get you restarted running. So we've had great feedback from that. One of the big questions I got that makes a lot of sense is that because I talk about running, shoes is always a big question. And somebody asked me, does it affect the shoe I get if I'm a heavier runner? I'm just getting started, I'm a little heavier. Should I buy a shoe with more cushion? And I just want to answer that by saying, remember this, just for anybody that's running or any shoe you're going to wear, that the shoe itself is simply to protect you from the ground, from the elements on the ground. So adding extra cushion is not necessary because you don't need extra protection from the ground, if that makes sense. So it's not protecting you from your running, it's protecting you from, stepping on a rock or something. So you want to feel like I'm in a shoe that I'm really comfortable in, and it's going to protect me from anything that I'm going to maybe step on while I run. If I shift my mindset to that, then when you go try on a shoe, you literally will stand there and think, do I still feel like I'm standing in my feet? This is so important. Our foot has amazing amounts of strength on its own and development. You can develop strength. And most importantly, you have what's called an ankle that needs range of motion. So if I'm limited in my ability to move, it's going to limit my ability to run. So just think about a shoe as something that's very comfortable. I want to feel like I have just enough shoe on that I'm not worried about the ground. That's how I would answer that. So please, just let's change that thought of the shoe's going to help me protect me from running. Only you can do that. So as you're learning to run and correcting your movement, then you're going to have stronger feet, you're going to develop muscle elasticity, and honestly, your body, guys, is meant to handle your body weight. Maybe you have more weight on it than you want right now, but you're not going to give it more than it can handle. You're already walking, you're already sitting, you're already standing with your current body weight. So adding more to a shoe isn't helping protect your body from its own body weight. That's so important. Because every time you put your foot out in front of you, whatever shoe you're in, even if there's cushion, it's 3 times your body weight. So if you really want to be nice to your feet and your knees and your back and your hips and all that, then you want to change your mindset, whether it's walking or running, that I'm going to keep my feet pretty much under me to reduce that impact and that load on my knee, my back, my hip, and all that. That's the way we do it. And honestly, adding in skill practice, elasticity, strength, then I'm going to develop the muscles and the strength and all that I need to be able to do my running. So keep that in mind when you buy your shoes. Right. Yeah. Right. Yes. And it's funny, like put kids, you've seen like little kids and you buy them their first shoes and they put their shoes on right now. Like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever done. And also, to be fair, a lot of people I know or I'm friendly with that aren't even runners. Like, nobody goes home and takes off their shoes and then puts on big cushions. They put on like slippers. People wear flip-flops all the time. I mean, the shoes we seem to all wear for comfort, sandals, are like minimalist. And then we're like, oh, we're going running? Let me put on a brick. But I also think that's because most of us, when we run, unfortunately, are still doing actions that make us feel like we're bricks in our feet, right? I mean, the thought of, I have this cushion, I'm going to just spring off the ground, sounds so good. It's still a great sale, And the reality is that when you start to feel your own, like she said, I pull so much better just barefoot. When you start to use your own muscle elasticity, changes everything in your run. And that muscle elasticity, for some of you, is coming in as calf pain. So this was my very second question after the shoes was, oh my gosh, I've been trying this running thing and my calves are on fire. And so I'm only smiling because I've been through it already. And I'll tell people, I wouldn't keep, 22 years I've been teaching this, and I promise you, calf pain is only because in the beginning I'm doing too much work, and I just have to bring it back to using elasticity instead of trying to jump and load the calf. So that's all. But let's talk about that for just a second. You know, the foundation of your run is, we like to say, the ball of foot hop. And so right now, just do 5 hops in place. Not jumping, just hop 5 times. That's called using muscle elasticity. Now we're in place, so there's absolutely going to be jumping, or movement up and down. However, we're not trying to go really high. So just now do 5 jumps where you try to go higher. So jump, 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 jump. Jumping is pushing. So when I went to try to jump higher, I pressed into the ground, extended my legs, trying to go up, right? Because that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to get as much help as I can to go up that direction. Well, if I ran like that, my calves would be really sore too. So I want to make sure we all understand that when we talk about the running, and it's always about pulling the foot, right? The gait cycle itself, you're pulling to the pose. Once you're in pose, the body can fall, and then you simply pull your foot to keep that cycle going. Well, if I jump, then I went up and down. How do I then travel forward? Well, unfortunately, you have to continue jumping. You're done. You now have to go, I'm going to push into the ground and try to just throw my body weight forward and then catch it. Which you can do, but man, is it tiring. So then you're just, your heart rate's going to go up, your muscle's going to fatigue, and unfortunately what happens then is you can't maintain that level of jumping, so then the foot just is going to start to reach. So these things are happening, these pains are just saying to you, you are spending too much time with the ground. So we want to change the conversation of elasticity to only working to pull the foot up. However, there's no jumping with it. And so in order for that to make sense, I always like to do, when you're hopping and you're going up and down, that feeling though is nice and easy. It's like an elasticity hop. When I'm running, if I start to feel like I'm just going up and down, that should be a signal for me that I'm pushing, or my calves hurt, either one. And it's coming from 2 things. One, you're pushing off the back, which unfortunately causes the leg to go that way, and it puts stress on the calf. The calf is loaded, and then look at what happened to this guy. Once I pushed off with my back leg, my front one went land, but not only did it land, I'm gonna put my glasses on, it's very dark in here. Not only did I landed with a tense ankle. So some of you guys are trying to find the ball of your foot. That also makes your calf sore. We have to let go of looking for the ground. The ground is there. And this is so fun. When I first started learning this, I had the same cues from my coach. I learned the pose method from Dr. Romanoff, who wrote the book, created the pose method. I'd never heard of it other than the book, but I'd read it, so I really thought I already knew it, by the way, when I met him. And he kept saying to me, stop looking for the ground. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, you keep taking your foot and you look for the ground, and then when you find it, you say, oh, there it is. Now I'm going to go forward and then pull. So my calves were sore also, and it didn't make any sense what he was saying until now it makes total sense. I was thinking I was pulling, but we talk about the ball of the foot. So what happens is you're actually trying to find the ball of your foot by putting the foot down. So you do pull, but then you go, where's the ground? So then my calf is it's like a double load on the calf. This is one of the biggest challenges, is first I have to recognize what I'm trying to do when I run, so that I can then understand why maybe I'm feeling what's going on. So calf tension, calf pain is coming from jumping, which is pushing, which means you are trying to push your run. So it's okay. It's a very common thing people do in running. So many people push or reach or both. So then I'm switching to this pulling. However, we're still pulling and jumping a little. So what the next step has to be that I understand that yes, I need to practice elasticity, but when I run, remember my body's going forward. So when you pull, it's after your body weight went forward, so there's no way you could jump because you don't have body weight on your foot. So you're actually pulling to keep up with your body. And when you start to practice just in place, the fall pull, you will start to sense the difference of what is hopping, pushing, jumping, which you've done a lot in your life, versus pulling, which you've never done intentionally. Seriously, where did you go ever? And they're like, hey guys, we're gonna do pulls. No, in fact, today on the Instagram, Caroline posted me doing a pull and everyone's watching the knee. So this was a really interesting, who's done high knees? Everyone. Who's done butt kicks? Everyone. Who's done pulls? No one. So when you see the pull, a lot of you are still watching the knee, and I'm over here talking about the ankle. You see? So ankle under hip. This is my hamstring. My hamstring closes the leg. So does yours. The hamstring closes the leg. So the quad is not active in this. It's not invited to this party at all. It has another job to do. What does the quad do? The quad's a stabilizer. My hip needs to be here, shoulders over hips. So the hip flexor itself, it's already busy. It's already doing something. So it would please like to be left alone. The hamstring is like totally ready for your run. Hello, you see, without using hip flexor. So what about the knee? Who cares? Your knee is a hinge joint, and it has no muscle and it has no action. You can only talk to the foot. Right now, the only thing connected to the ground is the foot. So the knee, not like we want to be mean to our knees. We're trying to save them, right? We want to reduce impact on that knee joint. And part of doing that is you have to understand the job of the knee is simply to allow basically for your leg to bend or straighten, right? And if you are straightening, then you're asking the quad and the hip flexor to work, and unfortunately they just asked you to please let them be. So remember that we are using the running muscle, which is your hamstring, the most amazing muscle for running, because two reasons. One is it pulls your foot up from the ground, but it also finishes the pull. So if you're trying to get your hips to work or your knees, then you're missing out. My driveway is slightly uphill on one side. Yes. Oh, great. Okay. All right, so I had to come in and read what people were saying. And by the way, with the conversation's so good. So, and I had to see it too, right? So like as my foot pulls up, my thigh stays pointing down. See? As my foot pulls up, my thigh stays pointing down. This is just so incredibly for me visual-wise. If I have my hand here on my hip flexor, I can feel that it's not moving. And then the hardest part is while I'm running, I only use 10% of my hamstring. So if I'm running and I'm like, whoop, I'm trying to pull to pose, then it's just like jumping. So then not only are my calves tired, now you got the hamstrings like, hey. So one of the things to keep in mind is these drills are really exaggerated, so that during your run, it's a very normal run. It's your natural run. During your run, you only break contact with the ground. However, if you try to just practice that, you're not going to feel what we're trying to feel. So these big drills, pulling to pose, connecting with your hamstring, are simply adding elasticity, are all so that when you run, you simply run. That's such a great part. Someone else just asked, great question, She said, I have a circular driveway and it's like this, you know, like the, I don't know, slanted a little bit. She said, could that be affecting my hip? Yes, absolutely. Anytime you have instability in the hip, you can affect all kinds of movement. So, and you know, there's, what do I do? Well, I would run, you know, the opposing direction. So I don't always run the same, you know, direction for sure. If you can scoot over to get more stable, absolutely. But yeah, things like that affect, absolutely. And again, why? Because if I'm, well, if my hip is like this, then everything's off. And I'm not, you know, it's not going to be a great stable position. So just, yes, keep those kinds of things in mind, and then just try to see what can I do around that. Even just going the other direction is a good idea. So it's like people that do a lot of trail running or a lot of hills. We do all end up in those unstable positions sometimes. So another good thing to add in is just getting stronger in that stable position, which is your pose. There's only one running pose, isn't that nice? So you can do things like strengthen your pose by standing in pose. You could hold weights. You could hold weights here if you wanted. I do things like that a lot. Hopping on one leg. I have so many exercises. So let me just backtrack just 2 seconds on that, which goes with, what if I am having pain in my hip or pain in my calf or pain in my knee or my shin or my whatever? How much stretching am I supposed to be doing? Can I just stretch that pain away? Well, you could probably stretch the pain away, but unless I correct the movement, the pain will continue to return. So one of the things that I emphasize so much is, in order to really recover correctly, is I have to correct the movement, right? So if I'm just like, man, my calf is tight, every time I run my calf is tight, this is a great calf stretch. Just stretch, feels great. I love this stretch. I do this all the time. So stretching my calf that way, if you add the knee bend, not only do you stretch, so this is an old-fashioned calf stretch, I call it. When you bend the knee, it adds the soleus. That space near your heel and ankle bone. So, however, let's say I just went running, my calf was tight, so I'm like, whoo, calf is tight, stretched it. All right, I'm ready to go out running again. And then I do the same exact thing I did in my last run. Well, every time I run, my calf will be tight. And then at some point, my calf's not going to be tight anymore. My heel's going to start to hurt. So all of a sudden, I went from calf tightness to heel pain. You see, everything travels. So let's correct what's going on. Absolutely, yes. We need to all do so much, not so much. 3 exercises, I would say. If I would implement ankle movement, so just a nice, see, these are ankle, your ankle goes this way, your ankle goes this way, and then I would do circles to increase the range of motion in my ankle. And I have, I do these all the time, these ankle openers. I do these a lot. However, I know some people can't be on their knees, so just open the ankle this way. All these stretches are amazing. However, none of them are teaching me anything. So when I go back to run, just because I stretch my calf or open my ankle doesn't mean it helped me in my running. I can do a bunch of these too, right? I have my T-band issues. Everybody gets a band out, they start doing these. When I go back to run, if I did not correct what's going on in the running, it's just hard to make those changes stay. So that's why shoes are great, stretches are great, all of this stuff is so good, but unless I'm actually working on my movement, it makes it hard for that to stay while I run. So I will end with this, because I love this, and it's a reset, right? It's the new year, new everything. I really hope you guys go through that reboot if you haven't already done it, or go back through it. And sometimes when I go back through it, it makes a lot more sense. One of the other questions that we had, so we did the shoes, we did the calves, we did the soreness. Oh, okay, this was another one. Do I need to do, what if I'm not feeling it in my hamstrings? So let me finish with that, because it'll take us through a little bit of practical. One of the things that's really exciting when you start to run is to realize that the truest muscle, if you will, for running is cardiovascular. It's the heart and lungs. Running is a cardiovascular sport. And Do we use our muscles? 100%. When we're standing here, we're all using our muscles. And yes, we pull with the hamstring. But remember, like I said, it's 10% active muscle contraction. So when you guys are running, what I want you to feel and sense is think more the gravity aspect of falling. We're not going to pull the foot all the way to pose. Remember, we're only going to break contact with the ground. So running is really about, it's free falling. So there's a freedom to that. I want you guys to feel when you're running, one, where am I falling to? Falling is something you allow. This is your center of mass. This is your gas pedal when you run. Your center, your own body, your one body weight, your one unit. Your body weight's on the ball of your foot. Where am I falling to? Right? That's the first question. Could be a finish line. Could be the next tree. It could be right here in front of me where this rig is. See? Doesn't matter. That's first and foremost. And then, not only where am I falling to, but now if I'm going to fall, what's the next thing I have to do? Is pull in response to the fall. So if I'm like, all right, there's where I'm falling to, and you just fall, that pull is a natural response of your hamstring. It's already there for you. So the fun part is, yeah, you're going to practice it, absolutely. But when you're running, you should feel like I'm falling and I'm pulling my foot, but it feels really light. It's not bouncy. It's light. It's like a little tap. It's quiet and it's a little tap. Up, 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 up. Now in the beginning, you have to practice and you have to be the one to change your movement. It's not just like, oh, it's natural. As you practice though, and you keep connecting with the correct movement, I promise you, it will feel natural. It won't feel, in the beginning it feels choppy, it feels weird, you feel awkward. That's why you guys feel a bit sore, because you're trying to do the pulling. So everybody, just pull for just a second. We'll just do this all together. So I'm just pulling my foot up, 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 up. Just enough that I sense that I pulled it, and then I can be ready to pull the other foot. So up, 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 up. Now just look ahead and allow yourself to fall from here. And off you go. It's hard to show in a tiny space, but if I can fall just in a small space, imagine what I can continue to do. And that's how I teach, by the way. I teach in this little space. Then I go out and I run. And what's amazing is if I can fall for 3 steps, I can fall for 6, I can fall for 9, I can fall for, you see? If all I can think about is, all I gotta do is let go, pull, you will start to sense when it's time to pull. All of that starts to come in to your running as you first just kind of connect with running itself is actually free falling. That's how we accelerate. We're all in the same gravitational field. And simply, we just have to kind of come into the fall point we can handle and just hop along for the ride. I mean, it's amazing when you first start to do this, everybody, when I say we're going to fall into a wall, what? But we have to have some kind of barrier in the beginning to just sense and feel, because it really is awkward in the beginning to just free fall. But the more you think about it, then you'll let go of other thoughts. You know, even this morning, everybody was so fixated on the knee, and I kept saying, we want to make sure that we're talking about the right thing. So I'll finish with this. If you get more and more comfortable with just the action of pulling, but understanding you're pulling to recover that running pose, practice just in place. You know, keep it simple, then work on that free fall. You'll start to integrate that into your run. But obviously the reason I put that reboot together is because the reality is we need accountability of practice, and we need to allow the body to adapt as it develops. So please don't think, okay, I watched this, it sounds really simple, now I'm just gonna go out for my regular run. Your body's gonna be like, whoa, 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 we've not done this before. So definitely ease it in. And yeah, do some drills in your warm-up if you want. Try it the next time you're out, pick some fall points, Think about pulling your feet, but allow it to progress into your run. So go easy on yourself on how quick it integrates into your practice, all right? I'm gonna reach in for just a second. Okay, I'll answer this last question. Okay, so let's just, everybody do this with me. If you're watching and you can, stand up for just a second. And I'll take your finger, take your thumb, and put it on your hip bone. Take your index finger and put it on your hip flexor. Lift. This is what your hip flexor does. It lifts your leg. Where's my foot? Way out ahead of me. This is so much stress to my body right now. Here I am. Now, I'm unstable. My hip is not stable. My foot's here. My ankle's way out here. My shoulders are behind my hips. My back is loaded. My calves are loaded. My hips are loaded. It's not a position I would want to be in, especially not for running. Now, leave your hand there and pull your ankle under your hip. Your hip flexor is very happy to hold still. Remember, what does my hip flexor do? It helps hold my shoulders over my hips. The hip flexor is not an active contractor in running. The only active contraction is right here. It's called your hamstring. Okay? 10% hamstring. Leave your hips alone. Leave your knees alone. Leave your thighs alone. You're pulling your foot up from the ground, ankle under hip. Tell you guys, it is so much benefit to you to go through that. Go through day one practice, if nothing else, on the RunRx Reboot. It's free, it's on YouTube. And just, maybe don't go through it, just watch 2 minutes. But really connect with your body. What is my hamstring? What does it do, right? And when I get more and more comfortable with running, can you imagine these runners? Look at a sprinter. There's no way while they're running they have any thought of, what muscles am I using? No, they are simply like, where's the finish line, right? That gun goes off, boom! Their feet are pulling. You know, a sprinter, an average sprinter cadence is like 250. And I ask for 180 for running, for muscle elasticity. But the reality is it's just the same as a sprinter. It doesn't matter if we're just going on just a fun run. That same gravity is there for us too. That same reduction on our knee joints is there for us too. So the more you guys let go of like, I need to be moving my muscles and think more about, I just need to be having fun connecting with gravity and just pulling my foot. And absolutely, talk to your hamstring. I promise you, so much of your extra work in your run will start to go away because you won't be thinking about it. If I don't have to do something, why do it, right? So then if I'm running with my thought of what to do, then that's what you will do. That's kind of the fun part of the training. So I hope that answered your question. Oh yeah, absolutely. And by the way, that's the fun thing too, is that if I do feel a pain in my run and I go back and I look at, okay, if it was my hip flexor, then I must have been reaching instead of pulling. So next time I run, I'll think more about pulling. If my calves are hurting, I must be pushing. See how bouncy that is? See how bouncy that's not? See the difference? So once I can see it, and then I can do the little drills to practice, then those pains start to go away. And absolutely, still stretch, still do all that good stuff, but I promise you, the correction of the movement, your calves will thank you. Your knees, your hips, all that. So thank you guys for coming on. Keep the questions coming. I'm really enjoying the interaction. And Happy New Year. So again, go to that YouTube, RunRx YouTube, or get on the website and take the free quiz and see what is hurting in your run. So runrxquiz.com. All right, guys, have a great week. See you next Wednesday. Thank you.